Hey, Dan Beagleman here. In this video, I'll teach you how to play Mississippi Queen as recorded by Mountain featuring guitarist Leslie West. I'll show you how to play the main rhythm figures and all the guitar fills and the guitar solos, and all of the guitar parts will be shown in music notation and tab sheets following each of the chapters. Mississippi Queen is built on a 12-bar blues platform. It's actually like a blues. Follows the 1-4-5 cycle like a 12-bar blues. Also, you could feel this as a 24-bar blues in cut time. And the music sheets that are included in this video, I did write them as a 24-bar blues in cut time because it's easier to read the 8th notes as opposed to the 16th notes. But if you listen to the drums, it's like, as I said, you could feel it as a 12-bar blues or a 24-bar blues in cut time or with a half-time feel. Okay, the song is in the key of E, so in the key of E, the 1-4-5, like on a blues, would be E, A, and B. So you have the format. Well, first, you have this little riff at the intro here. I'll show you this little riff really quick. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then you have it kind of picks up at the 9th bar of the blues cycle, or the turn on the blues cycle, which in the key of E would be B. So here's your B5, and all the chords are power chords, like A5, E5, A5, B5, like that. So you're going to hit the A5 chord, slide into the B, and this little riff, and then slide into the 4 chord, and now your song is going to start. The main 12-bar or 24-bar blues cycle is going to start. So the 1 chord, again, being E or E5, every time he plays it, he's going to slide in from a whole step underneath. And then this little riff. Okay, repeat. Now the 4 chord, which is A, sliding into it from a whole step under. Back to the 1 chord. 5 chord, which is B, sliding into it from a whole step under. That's the 4 chord. And then the intro thing again, that little intro riff. Okay, that's the body of the tune. So here's the whole rhythm figure. Here's the 12-bar figure that's based on the verse, that the verse and the guitar solo is built on. The song has 3 of those cycles. It has the intro, then it has 3 of those 12-bar blues or 24-bar blues with a halftime feel, 3 cycles of that, and then the outro. Okay, now I'll play the tune for you, just the rhythm guitar, if you want to call it the rhythm guitar part. I'll play the intro, and then I'll play the 12-bar cycle or 24-bar cycle in halftime. And as I mentioned, on the recording, it happens 3 times, or 3 cycles of that blues cycle. But I'll just play 1, and then I'll go to the outro. So intro, 1 cycle, outro. Here we go. And that's Mississippi Queen. Now regarding the guitar fills and guitar solo, which I guess it's a solo on the third cycle. As I mentioned, the song has an intro, 3 cycles of the 12 or 24 bar blues, and then the outro. So there's a little fill he plays in the intro. He doesn't play anything on the first cycle. And on the second cycle, he plays, starting off each of the subsequent measures and kind of answered by a vocal. And then on the third cycle, it kind of reverses, kind of like that call response concept, which is very, very common in blues. Okay, so the intro song starts, and then you have this little fill here, which is based on the E major pentatonic scale. Okay, and at the end of this chapter also, as I mentioned in the rhythm guitar, the previous chapter, the music sheets will have all of these solos written out in music notation and tab. So that's that little intro, okay? The first verse, nothing as far as the lead guitar stuff. Verse 2, or the second cycle, he, as I said, he begins each subsequent measure or every other measure with a little fill and then answered by a vocal. So here's the second verse. And then there's a little lyric, Mississippi Queen. And Mississippi Queen. And all of that was in the E major pentatonic scale in the 9th position. Now you go to E minor pentatonic scale, position 12. Okay, and that's it for the second cycle. The third cycle, which would be considered the guitar solo, is based on E major pentatonic scale in position 17, some E minor pentatonic scale position 12, and E major pentatonic scale in position 9. So it starts off with this classic Leslie West riff, very recognizable signature Leslie West guitar riff. Then position 12, and now position 9 major pentatonic scale, then back to 12, and now back to the E major pentatonic scale in position 17. Okay, that's the riffs that are played on the third cycle, and I'll put these together. So here's the third cycle of the song with the guitar fills, or guitar riffs, if you will. Okay. And that's it. The guitar fills and the guitar solo on Mississippi Queen are both based on very simple scales, the major pentatonic and the minor pentatonic. The song is in the key of E, and as I said, 2 scales, the E major pentatonic and the E minor pentatonic scale. Here's an E major pentatonic scale in position 9. Pentatonic scale is a 5-tone scale. And here's an E minor pentatonic scale in position 12. And the E minor pentatonic scale is actually relative to the G major pentatonic scale, the relative major minor concept. Most of the guitar soloing on this song, and a lot of Leslie West guitar playing as well, is really handled on the first 3 strings and sometimes the 4th string. But so many of the fills you can hear very simply. Here's your root note with that E major pentatonic in position 9, the first scale I showed you. Here's your root note here and here. So you can see just hanging in this little bit area, this little area in position 9, just if you use these 4 strings. So much of it is right there, and then same thing in position 12. Right here. So just bouncing around between those 2 scales in the 9th position and the 12th position. And when Leslie West plays high up on the neck here, this is just an octave higher than this. So it's just superimposing that same pattern 1 octave up and down on strings 1 and 2 as opposed to strings 3 and 2. Leslie West, in a way, is a very simple guitar player, and I don't mean any disparaging remark in that regard, because I love Leslie West. I think the guy was a tremendous guitar player, but he really made so much out of using so little. Okay, he had a great feel, he had great tone, he had a great vibrato, and just a great musical sense. So just again taking these 2 basic scales, and even just the higher part of these 2 major pentatonic and minor pentatonic scales will give you a world of ideas to play. Okay, it's a different kind of guitar playing than some of these guitar shredders, obviously, just a whole different thing, but very musical. And if you like Leslie West and that type of guitar playing, like I said, you'll find everything you need right in those 2 scale patterns, and then just superimposing them sometimes in different areas on the neck. Check out my video on pentatonic and blues scales. The link is in the description, and I'll take you through a real deep dive into pentatonic and blues scales, major minor pentatonics, major minor blues, and positions all over the neck, and vertical patterns and horizontal patterns. And if you check that video out, there's a whole lot to get from that, and you'll see a lot of how the fills on this song will really intersect by using a lot of these horizontal patterns that I talk about in my video. Leslie West gained notoriety as guitarist with a group called the Vagrants from Long Island, New York. They were kind of an R&B band, and in doing some demos, session work, Leslie got involved with producer Felix Pappalardi. And Felix Pappalardi, at the time, was a very well-known producer, as he produced the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Cream albums, Disraeli Gears, Wheels of Fire, and Goodbye Cream, their final album. So Leslie West's association with Felix Pappalardi led to the first Leslie West album. The album is called Mountain, but it's actually a Leslie West solo album, as the group Mountain had not really become an official group at the time. The first Leslie West album featured Leslie West on guitar, vocals, Felix Pappalardi on bass, and some vocals, producer, and they had N.D. Smart was the drummer, and Steve Knight played some keyboards on that album. But again, doing that album led to the real association of Leslie West and Felix Pappalardi, and then they decided, hey, let's put a band together and make this an official group. And that was the beginning of the group Mountain, which they got a new drummer, Corky Lang. So the album Climbing, or Mountain Climbing, is officially the first real Mountain album, which again featured the same lineup except with a new drummer. Leslie West, Felix Pappalardi, Corky Lang, and Steve Knight. And on that album, of course, is the song Mississippi Queen, and one of their other best-known songs, Theme from an Imaginary Western, which is a Jack Bruce song, Jack Bruce being the bassist and vocalist from Cream. So there's a lot of association with the members of Mountain and Cream. They sort of all traveled in the same universe. And Cream, of course, being a power trio, or power blues rock trio, if you will. And Mountain, although they had a keyboardist, Steve Knight, Steve Knight was not that big of a part of the band as far as what you hear on the recordings. You know, I don't mean to diminish his role in any way, but people still kind of think of Mountain as a power trio because it's really guitar, bass, drums that are in your face. When Mountain broke up, Leslie West formed a group with bassist Jack Bruce, and they called the group West, Bruce, and Lang. And that, again, a similar group in that power trio universe, Cream, Mountain, and now West, Bruce, and Lang. So again, you could see that association of those musicians, you know, in a similar genre, a power trio, power blues rock trios. And I mentioned that one of the best-known songs from Mountain outside of Mississippi Queen is Theme from an Imaginary Western. I did a cover version, an instrumental cover version of Theme from an Imaginary Western on my third album, Paradigm Shift. And if you're interested to hear that, check out the link is in the description of this video. Although Leslie West played quite a few different guitars throughout his career, he's still probably best known for playing the Les Paul Jr., which he really started out with in the early days of Mountain and kind of stayed with as a signature guitar. Although during Mountain he did use Gibson Flying V's and assorted Gibson Les Paul Standards and Les Paul Customs, but basically all Gibson guitars. Actually, the only time I've ever seen Leslie West playing a Fender guitar was in the group The Vagrants, you know, before Mountain even started, where he was playing a Fender Telecaster. And later on, after Mountain broke up and after West, Bruce, and Lang, when Leslie West began his solo career, he's known to have been playing these Steinberger headless guitars. Quite a jump from Gibson Les Paul Jr.'s. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please leave any questions or comments in the comments section below. I'm Dan Beagleman, and that's Mississippi Queen as recorded by Mountain with guitarist Leslie West on their 1970 album Climbing. Have a nice day.